Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Speakers of Parliament, Members of Parliament, fellow Kenyans, ladies and gentlemen, today, for the second time and in line with my constitutional obligation, I address this special sitting of Parliament to outline the state of the nation in relation to our values and principles of governance as elaborated in Article 10, the state of our nation's security as provided for in Article 240, and the status in fulfilling our international treaty obligations under Article 132 of our Constitution. Honorable members, as we approach my second anniversary as President, I am pleased to report that the state of our nation is strong. Our economy is growing robustly, our nation is secure, and our place in the community of nations is respected. In the year under review, we as a nation have continued to deepen our democracy and the rule of law. Public participation in governance has grown at all levels, while institutional measures to secure the basic rights and freedoms of our people continue to take root. The year has been laced with robust debates and sometimes even strong differences of opinion between and within various levels and arms of government. This is a profound reaffirmation of our democratic ideals. Nonetheless, exercising these rights and privileges demands from each one of us, particularly us as leaders, to remain conscious of our patriotic duty to nurture a united nation. Fellow Kenyans, in 2014, Kenya rebased its economy and is now the 9th largest economy on the African continent, with a GDP of US $53.3 billion and with GDP per capita at US $1,246. Kenya has attained middle-income status. We are also one of the African economies that can boast a diversified and broad-based, balanced economy. Today, Kenya is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Despite sluggish global growth, our economy is steadily expanding at 6%, consolidating our position as the largest non-mineral driven economy in sub-Saharan Africa. We are also making significant progress in the oil, gas, and mineral sectors. Following the establishment of a dedicated mining ministry, our royalties have sharply increased from 21 million shillings in 2012 to an expected 1.2 billion shillings this financial year. This ongoing economic transformation is drawing attention globally. Last month, a prominent international publication singled Kenya as one of 7 outstanding emerging markets worth investing in. Earlier this month, of the 57 fastest growing economies ranked by Bloomberg, Kenya was the 3rd fastest growing economy behind China and the Philippines. Additionally, Ernst & Young's Attractiveness Survey for Africa for 2014 placed Kenya among the 3 top investment destinations in sub-Saharan Africa and the most preferred in East and Central Africa. A combination of the government's pro-growth economic policies, a growing middle class, an educated and skilled workforce has steered Kenya into the ranks of the top emerging market destinations for investment. Inflation has been contained at single digits, capping the price of basic goods for Kenyans. Interest rates are falling, allowing Kenyans to access credit for their businesses, homes, and farms. the exchange rate is stable, and the public debt sustainable, reflecting my administration's sound fiscal and monetary policy management. Furthermore, the implementation of programs and projects that drive our growth are proceeding apace. We have made significant progress in the energy sector. Since March of 2013, we have added 514.9 megawatts of electricity to our national grid to make available a total of 2,125 megawatts. This represents a 31% growth in total generation capacity. A substantial component of the new additional capacity is geothermal, a clean energy source that increases our resilience to the volatility associated with weather and oil prices. Kenya is now the world's 8th largest geothermal producer with a steam power capacity of 579 megawatts. Notably, our power generation mix is overwhelmingly green, positioning us amongst the global leaders when it comes to the nexus between climate change and sustainable development. This is especially appropriate given our hosting of the United Nations Environmental Programme, the world's leading environmental agency. I call upon all Kenyans to embrace the promise of green energy for sustainable development. Honorable members, greater supply of electricity has translated into an average reduction in consumer bills by 25% in the period between August 2014 and February 2015. Costs of electricity to industry have also fallen, making the country a more competitive location for the manufacturing sector. The total number of users connected to electricity grew by over 41% between March 2013 and today, raising the customer base to 3,150,000 Kenyans. This translates to an increase in the national electrification rate from 26% to 37%. In the last 3 months of this year alone, we have connected 385,000 Kenyans and are on target to record 1 million by the end of December 2015, more than double the connections last year. Across the country, businesses large and small are expanding, creating employment and prosperity. As government meets its end of the bargain in providing cheaper power, it is my expectation that businesses will pass on these savings to the Kenyan consumer. Ladies and gentlemen, when I took office, I pledged to connect all public primary schools to electricity within 2 years. At the time, only 8,200 schools out of 21,500 primary schools had been connected. As we speak today, a total of 18,424 schools have been connected. The remaining 3,076 schools will be done by the end of next month. Ladies and gentlemen, in the last 2 years, more primary schools have been connected to electricity than have been since independence. The provision of power further accelerates the already rapid penetration of internet connectivity, linking our people to knowledge and far-off opportunities. A total of Kenya shillings 1.2 billion has been transferred to 21,458 schools for construction of ICT hardware storage rooms, and more than 2,500 teachers have undergone ICT training. This action will provide a qualified workforce that guarantees the swift rollout of our laptop project. We continue to implement free primary school education, which offers a ladder for our children to obtain employable skills and allow them to become active citizens. To extend this fundamental promise of opportunity to all, The government scrapped examination fees and capped school fees for secondary schools. We have also increased budgetary allocation from 30 billion shillings in 2013-14 to 40 billion shillings this year, with the objective of rolling out free and compulsory primary and secondary education in the next 5 years. Kenya has migrated 70% of the areas previously covered by analog TV to digital TV broadcast. Our target is to migrate the remaining 30% by the end of this month. Digital TV has made possible high-quality television, enabled more television channels, driven down the barriers to entry, and created more entrepreneurial and employment opportunities from the creation of local content. In line with this endeavor, we are extending television broadcasting to parts of this country which did not enjoy such services previously. In spite of this positive development, there are sustained and persistent claims that the government's insistence on maintaining the agreed and court-endorsed migration has rolled back Kenya's democratic gains. Nothing could be further from the truth. All Kenyans should know that digital migration will unleash the potential of this medium, expanding the scope of available information to the benefit of our democracy. The misrepresentation to the contrary is irresponsible. It seeks to insulate entrenched interests and close the door to the many Kenyans who will benefit from an open arena. We as government are willing to work with all stakeholders in the endeavor to grow a vibrant and prosperous broadcasting sector. This experience underscores the importance of each sector of our society appreciating its cardinal responsibility to this country and its people. Kenyans should be proud of our global leadership in mobile money transactions. In 2014, Kenyans exceeded 2.1 trillion shillings in mobile money transactions. In all, Kenyans made almost 50% of global mobile money transactions. These startling statistics, coupled with the total number of mobile phones exceeding one for every citizen, means that Kenya is at the global frontier of mobile technology. Honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, the construction of the standard gauge rail is progressing according to plan. Close to half of the 609 kilometers is excavated and ready for sleepers. On completion, the new railway will dramatically reduce cargo transit costs by a further 60% and decongest our roads, leading to greater road safety. The development of the SGR is an addition to the substantial expansion and modernization taking place at the port of Mombasa that has led to a reduction in freight times by more than 75%. Further gains will be realized with the imminent completion of berth number 19 and the soon to commence berth 20 and 21. Fellow Kenyans, for the last century, the current narrow gauge railway has driven our economy. The SGR will revolutionize our economy and position it to take full advantage of the opportunities of the 21st century. The LAPSET project is another significant investment by our nation. Just like the Kenya-Uganda Railway became the artery of the East African economy, so will LAPSET create a new economic and social reality. In addition to opening up the northern part of our country to trade and investment, it will contribute to securing what has been a fragile, volatile, and insecure parts of our country. In doing this, LabSet will transform the lives of millions of our compatriots while creating an enabling environment for northern Kenya to contribute strongly to national prosperity. Furthermore, LabSet will deepen regional integration and Africa's interconnectivity and trade. Recognizing its value, the African Union at its January 2015 summit included LabSet in its Presidential Infrastructure Champion Initiative. The administrative infrastructure for this project is complete, and I will, in the next few days, break ground for the construction of the initial 3 berths of Lamu Port. To facilitate the expansion of the desired road network, my government has resorted to an innovative model, the annuity financing model, which unlocks infrastructural financing. This approach is expected to reduce our construction costs by half and guarantee us an additional 10,000 kilometers of tarmacked roads within the next 5 years. Honorable members, following the fire disaster of August 2013 at the Kenyatta International Airport, which at the time seemed to spell doom, we have recovered splendidly. Within 10 days, all flights had resumed. By November of 2013, we had constructed and finalized a new arrivals hall, and by October of 2014, we had completed Terminal 1A, which currently carries 80% of all business at JKIA. In addition, last year we commenced construction of a new terminal that I again expect to commission in the next few days. This upgrade has placed JKIA in the top league internationally. Ladies and gentlemen, even as we pay close attention to infrastructure, my administration has also trained its attention on improving service provision to our people. In the last year, we have sharply accelerated the quality and breadth of public services. Under the Huduma Kenya program, we are now delivering more than 35 services under one roof in 23 counties. By the end of this financial year, we will have rolled out an additional 23 centers, bringing the total to 41 Huduma centers. This pioneering program has attracted numerous commendations, including the 2015 winner of the African Association of Public Administration and Management Gold Medal on Innovative Management in Africa. A number of countries, both in Africa and beyond, are working with our people to replicate this model. Honorable members, earlier this month, I launched the Integrated Population Register System, the single source of truth on population identity. The system, which has been tested for more than a year now, is a comprehensive database of all registered persons residing in Kenya, both citizens and foreigners. The value of the IPRS to planning, service delivery, business processing, and security is revolutionary to not only government, but to the banking, telecoms, insurance, and other sectors of our economy. On this same platform, the e-Citizen Government Services Portal is progressively migrating services online. These include the renewal of driving licenses, business name searches, and registration of marriages, passport applications, and official land searches in Nairobi. Other services will be coming on stream in the near future. To attract greater domestic and international investment, my administration, in collaboration with the private sector, has made a concerted effort to improve the business regulatory environment. These efforts, added to the opportunities in our economy and region, are leading to strong growth in foreign and domestic direct investment, and therefore to jobs and growth. In line with my administration's commitment to improve healthcare, we have invested 38 billion shillings to roll out the Managed Equipment Services program. To effect this, 5 global suppliers have assessed 94 hospitals in 47 counties, plus the 4 national referral hospitals, to deliver the necessary equipment starting in May of this year. This capacity is the most sophisticated in the region, enabling access to world-class diagnosis and treatment. Our emphasis is on early detection and prevention, so as to avoid the high costs associated with treatment occasioned by late detection. In these hospitals, the equipment purchased will allow for treatment of diseases such as cancer, while providing advanced dialysis and intensive care facilities in all counties of our country. With the provision of free maternal hospital services, maternal health has greatly improved. Deliveries in our public health facilities now average 80%, and as a result, maternal mortality has decreased from 488 to 360 deaths per 100,000 live births. We have opened many clinics in slum areas such as Mathare and Nairobi, through which many Kenyans daily access medical care. Our efforts in this sector are complemented by initiatives of the First Lady, who I commend for the Beyond Zero campaign, which keeps growing from strength to strength in improving maternal and child health care across the country. All these endeavors, honorable members, are geared towards the Jubilee government's commitment to roll out universal health care for all Kenyans. In this respect, I wish to thank the government of Japan and all our development partners who have been extending support for this initiative. Beginning April of this year, the new agreed National Health Insurance Fund rates will be in force, allowing for in- and outpatient treatment. To this end, I encourage all Kenyans to enroll with NHIF, and this will ensure that our objective of universal health care will be realized. To promote social justice and inclusivity, my government is assisting 35,000 self-help groups and continues the promotion of social security to the aged citizens and other vulnerable groups in our society. The Older Persons Cash Transfer Program covers 164,000 households, cushioning them against life-threatening risks such as sickness, poor health, and injuries. In addition, the government continues to fund the Orphaned and Vulnerable Cash Transfer Program, which currently covers 252,000 households and 27,000 persons with severe disabilities. We have also launched the Health Insurance Subsidy Program to cover 12,000 households. This program, which benefits the poor, has 30,000 principal beneficiaries registered by the National Health Insurance Fund. The government has also established the President's Secondary School Bursary Scheme, which benefits 13,050 orphans and vulnerable children. Overall, close to 500,000 households are benefiting from the 25 billion shillings invested in these programs. We have made significant progress also in land reform. The reorganization and cleanup of the Nairobi and Mombasa land registries is complete. We have launched a new National Land Titling Center, which has processed close to 400,000 new title deeds which have been issued. In digitizing the process of land ownership, the Nairobi registry is now complete, with citizens able to conduct searches and payments of land rents online. The digitizing of the remaining 13 land registries will be complete by June of 2015. We are clearly on track to fulfilling our Jubilee Manifesto pledge of issuing 3 million new title deeds by 2017. Fellow Kenyans, in the realm of international relations, for the first time in our history as a nation, we have launched a foreign and diaspora policy, clarifying our strategic objectives and values that drive our engagement with the rest of the world and Kenyans abroad, respectively. Next week, we will be holding a diaspora conference to elaborate the role of Kenyans abroad in contributing to the national aspirations for broad and inclusive development. At the bilateral level, we continue to strengthen our relations with friendly nations. I have traveled to China, the United States, Japan, and across Africa, seeking new partnerships and strengthening our strategic partnerships. We have also opened a number of diplomatic missions, signed a range of bilateral agreements. These efforts leverage large investment opportunities, such as the Standard Gauge Railway, the Power Africa Initiative, as well as opening new trade and investment opportunities for Kenya. Kenya remains a champion of economic integration. I had the privilege to chair the East African Community last year, and during that period, the region deepened its integration and concluded a range of instruments to enhance close economic, political, and infrastructural development ties. The biggest success has been the initiation and implementation of the single customs territory to facilitate cross-border trade within the region. As a result, it now takes 3 days for goods to transit from Mombasa to Kampala and 4 days to Kigali, down from 18 days and 20 days respectively. Another key achievement is the elimination of work permits fees, the launching of the single tourist visa, travel within the region by identity card, one-stop border posts, establishing the one area network, and thereby reducing the cost of cross-border communication in East Africa. These measures strengthen the stability, resilience, and economic opportunities in our region. We also remain a vital actor in the search for sustainable peace and security in both Somalia and South Sudan, and are working with our neighbors and allies to stabilize the Great Lakes region. At the continental level, Kenya is an anchor state in championing the Africa agenda. In the aftermath of the Ebola epidemic, Kenya was amongst the first responders, contributing $1 million and hundreds of brave, highly qualified medical staff, some of whom are still on the ground battling Ebola. We also took leadership role in negotiations with the European Union that led to a successful conclusion of the European Union Partnership Agreement. Internationally, we have hosted several high-profile events reflecting the growing stature of Nairobi as a global diplomatic hub where major debates and decisions are made. Later this year, we will host the World Trade Organization's Ministerial Conference and have offered to host the 6th Tokyo International Conference for Africa's Development in 2016. Kenya remains a champion of a rule-based multilateral system that upholds the equality of states. To this end, we continue to lobby for the reform of the United Nations system to reflect the democratic imperatives of our age. Honorable members, we continue with the robust implementation of our Constitution. In this respect, Parliament, under its legislative agenda, has passed more than 24 laws. It is my trust that all 5th schedule legislation and the outstanding 4th year legislation will be processed in time for the August deadline. Our strong commitment to devolution remains manifest. My administration has ensured and funded counties progressively, increasing from 190 billion shillings in the first financial year to 226 billion in the current financial year, and projecting 258 billion shillings in the next financial year. All this well beyond the 15% minimum provided for in the Constitution, demonstrating my continued belief in the value of devolution. We have also established intergovernmental mechanisms to support devolution through enhanced consultations, cooperation, and partnership with the counties. As a sign of the growing understanding and partnership between national and county governments, I am pleased to report that IBEC, under the chairmanship of the Deputy President, concluded an early and harmonious settlement of the division of revenue negotiations. As the chair of the Intergovernmental Summit, I am continuously engaged with the county governments to ensure the success of the devolution dream. In my travels across the country, I have taken pride in the varied projects being undertaken by county governments. I am, however, concerned by the numerous disruptions of the devolution agenda by political conflicts in a number of counties. This month, I reluctantly established a commission to inquire into the affairs of Makueni County. We have also witnessed intense contestation between leaders in a number of other counties, namely Narok, Embu, Mandera, Marsabit, and Tana River, amongst others. Ethnicity is being used to exclude, divide, and manipulate the people. This trend, unless halted, has the potential to derail the devolution agenda. The aspiration of the Kenyan people was for grassroots development, not for ethnic balkanization. I therefore call on all leaders at the county level to be guided by these aspirations and not their own narrow self-interest. We must all remember that Kenya is one indivisible nation and that every Kenyan has a right to live, work, and participate in all activities in any part of our country, as indeed guaranteed by our Constitution. In this regard, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission must take seriously its mandate to promote and to protect the values of cohesion and devolution. Fellow Kenyans, I have since taking office underscored the value of harnessing the capabilities of all Kenyans. Only by doing this can we unleash the full potential of our nation and create the Kenya of our dreams. In this respect, my government has put special emphasis on the setting up of mechanisms and institutions to guarantee inclusivity. Today, we celebrate nearly 2 years of the Jubilee government's implementation of the Public Procurement and Disposal Act regulation passed in 2013 that provides access to 30% of government procurement to women, youth, and persons with disabilities. This has translated concretely into a total of 9.4 billion shillings worth of contracts to these groups in the first 2 quarters of this financial year. By the end of the year, these groups will have provided government with goods and services amounting to some 30 billion Kenya shillings. As I have repeatedly emphasized, all procuring agencies and entities must fully comply with this law. In addition, we have also disbursed 5.3 billion shillings to the Uwezo Fund, and our efforts have been lauded at the just concluded 59th session of the Commission on the Status of Women as an innovative showcase of gender-responsive budgeting and cited as a model that could be exported to other countries in Africa and indeed the Commonwealth. The youth have continued to provide their capability to drive our growth and progress. I have been delighted by the vibrancy of their innovation and energy commitment, from innovations and innovators at iHub, NIHub, and the 16 technology hubs, to Equity Bank's Wings to Fly, Kenya's youth are proving repeatedly that they are holding the present and future of our nation in their hands. Kenya is becoming a startup nation. In the last year, we have witnessed the growth of homegrown technological innovation of cutting-edge global standards. And herein lies an unprecedented opportunity to leverage relevant technology to respond to our needs, drive our economy, job market, and improve service delivery. I call upon all government ministries and agencies and the private sector to explore these homegrown innovations and to support these young innovators before turning to solutions from abroad. The National Youth Service has become a significant driver of our transformation agenda. Working alongside communities, the National Youth have become change agents that catalyze improved living standards for the less fortunate, particularly in informal settlements, such as demonstrated in Kibera. Similar efforts are underway in Mathare, Korogosho, Mukuru kwa Jenga, and Kiandutu in Thika, and will be rolled out across the country. Beyond the cities, the National Youth Service is also engaged in at-risk regions of the country, and for the first time through the efforts of this institution, Lodwar should soon have access to water on a sustainable basis, reflecting my government's commitment to drive development across the country. I encourage all young Kenyans to take full advantage of all government programs laid out to facilitate their productive integration into national economic life. In 2013, I appointed a task force to review the operations of parastatals with the aim of reforming them to be more efficient in their pursuit of our national development goals and to align their mandates to the Constitution. The task force has made recommendations to transform our parastatals. The legal framework to guide the envisioned reforms has undergone the requisite stakeholder consultations. Several pieces of proposed legislation, including an overarching law on government-owned entities that align these institutions to our national development imperatives, will shortly be forwarded to Parliament for consideration. Yesterday, I issued as part of the Parastatal Reform Program the Mwongozo Code of Governance for State Corporations, and I directed that all vacant positions in boards now be filled, and I will personally oversee all appointed and currently serving board members formally sign on to the code. This will address governance and management challenges in our parastatals. Fellow Kenyans, ladies and gentlemen, I have outlined just a number of initiatives that demonstrate the work that the Jubilee government has done to drive the transformation of Kenya. This progress notwithstanding, our country today is faced with a number of daunting challenges that slow our progress, obscure our achievements, and chip away at the legitimacy of the state. The most pressing of these challenges are insecurity, disunity, and corruption. In the last year, security has improved, and I salute the service and sacrifice of our brave men and women in uniform who risk their lives to protect our way of life. They are confronting on our behalf a range of security threats. Foremost of these is global terrorism, as manifested in the threat of Al-Shabaab, who continue to operate largely from Somalia. The Kenya Defense Forces, within the ambit of the African Union mission in Somalia, continues to dismantle the capability of Al-Shabaab. However, this terrorist group still poses a significant threat to Kenya, especially in light of the long porous border with Somalia. We are also faced with the sharp growth of radicalization and violent extremism, threats associated with youth that have been returned from Somalia. Other international crimes that threaten us include poaching, human trafficking, drug and narcotic trafficking, as well as cybercrime. In addition to these international crimes, most of which feed into the funding and resourcing of terrorism and its agents, we are also faced with the challenge of ethnic and intercommunal conflicts, sexual and gender-based violence, contraband and smuggling of goods, it's a serious matter. While we have had a decline in traffic-related crimes, there is need for focused attention to reduce our road carnage and the threats associated with the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. To counter these challenges, the government implemented a number of strategies, including the setting up of an interagency coordination unit, the enhancement of security vigilance, and community sensitization. We continue to provide resources for the modernization of our security agencies. This year, we increased the police operational fleet by 1,200 vehicles, bringing about a total of 2,400 vehicles made available to the police in the last 2 years, more than has ever been provided since independence. We have created a single command structure in counties that has improved command and control. We have also gone a long way to improving our investigative capacity by establishing a forensic lab, which will be equipped in the coming financial year. The improvement of our immigration department is self-evident. The management of our entry and exit points, which have been vulnerable, is improving steadily. In the next fortnight, Kenyans will be able to apply for their passports online, and visitors will make online visa applications. Although we have faced a delay in the recruitment of 10,000 police officers following a court process, we are determined to complete this recruitment before the end of this financial year. This is in line with my administration's plan to increase the force by 10,000 recruits annually. Further administrative and policy initiatives over the last few months, including an overhaul of our security framework through the Security Laws Amendment Act 2014 and the adoption of a national counter-radicalization strategy, have transformed the legal and policy landscape. We now have a robust and far-reaching legal framework to counter the current threats relating to terrorism. This will go a long way in safeguarding the lives and property of Kenyans and our visitors. In this respect, I wish to express my gratitude to this House for passing this significant legislation. These efforts have led to an increased tempo in operations. We are detecting, disrupting, and preventing attacks on our people and territory. The recent appointment of new leadership in key strategic and operational positions in a number of security organs offers an opportunity to inject new ideas and drive that are much needed for the capacity and morale of our personnel. It is imperative that the synergy and improving performance emerging from the security sector be sustained. The ongoing police vetting process has taken too long and is now having a negative impact on the overall reform agenda in the police. It is leading to low morale, affecting command and control, and therefore our ability to provide security. For these reasons, I call upon this House to urgently reflect on a more effective way to vet in line with the objectives and spirit of the police reform process. The state of the national economy, our public safety and security, and our international standing depends fundamentally on our ability to secure this nation on a sustainable basis. Our vigilance and efforts must therefore remain strong. It is for this reason that I have put every security organ on high alert and ensured substantial additional resources to this sector. I, in turn, expect a corresponding commitment by these agencies to secure this nation. I also call upon every Kenyan to take up their civic duty to cooperate with the security actors and in the effort to secure our motherland. Fellow Kenyans, honorable members, during our history and recognizing the danger of disunity, our Constitution in Article 10 spells out the value of national unity, inclusiveness, and cohesion as fundamental to our national character. As heirs to a great freedom-fighting tradition, bearing the sacred trust of past, present, and future generations, we are called to observe and to realize these values. We are grateful for the contribution of our forefathers who fought for independence, many paying the ultimate price, and for those who have led our nation for the last half-century. In that time, our economy has grown. We have been an island of peace, a haven for refugees, and our nationhood has acquired even deeper and stronger roots. Our experience as a people over time, however, is also laced with moments of pain and suffering. We started our existence as a nation seeking to establish our sovereignty and territorial integrity. In the course of this struggle, lives have been lost and property was destroyed and civilians have suffered. To this day as a nation, we are still plagued by painful memories of unresolved murders, the existence of torture chambers and detentions without trial, events such as the Wagala tragedy, and violence against the proponents of expanding our democratic space. And all actions that have at times failed to recognize the civil and human rights of Kenya's citizens. These have shaken the nation, excluded some Kenyans from the full promise of citizenship, and fractured our national fabric. We have been witness to violence linked to elections, which has left many Kenyans dead, maimed, and indeed dispossessed. In 2007-2008, this reached its most tragic expression with the post-election violence that left 1,300 Kenyans dead and more than 650,000 displaced from their homes across the country. Collectively, all these incidents have disunited us and held our people hostage to this tragic history by providing the foundation and rationale for cynical and destructive politics of hate and division. In an effort to confront this past, the Truth, Justice, and Reconciliation Commission undertook an inquiry into past injustices. Their report is before this House, and I urge honorable members to process it without undue delay. My fellow compatriots, the government has made efforts to relieve the plight of victims, particularly those of the post-election violence of 2007-2008. While these efforts have been lauded internationally, most recently by the African Union report that recognized that Kenya has set a positive standard to be emulated, I recognize that it is impossible to fully compensate for the loss of life and magnitude of suffering. Honorable members, yesterday I received the report of the 2007-2008 post-election violence-related cases from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, a copy of which is annexed to my report on national values. In all, there were 6,000 reported cases and 4,575 files opened. It is the opinion of the Director of Public Prosecutions that there are challenges to obtaining successful prosecutions. These challenges range from inadequate evidence, inability to identify perpetrators, witnesses' fear of reprisals, and the general lack of technical and forensic capacity at the time. Nonetheless, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions recognizes that there were victims and recommends that these cases be dealt with using restorative approaches. We must indeed recall our options are not just limited to retributive justice. There also exists the promise of restorative justice. In many ways, Kenyans and humanity overall have benefited from restorative justice, an approach that is deeply rooted in our cultural and historical realities, particularly when such conflicts have a communal and political dimension. Many thousands of Kenyans have reached out to reconcile with one another. My administration was forged from this reconciliation and is building on the efforts of the last government to advance the resettlement, reconciliation, and relief to internally displaced persons, and I am committed to continuing these efforts as necessary. Honorable members, notwithstanding the recommendation of the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission report, I have instructed the Treasury to establish a fund of 10 billion shillings over the next 3 years to be used for restorative justice. This will provide a measure of relief and will underscore my government's goodwill. I have also established a State Department dedicated to strategic initiatives in marginalized and at-risk regions and populations of our country. It is my hope that these measures will go some way to bringing the nation together as we reach for the prosperity and security that is our common promise. Fellow Kenyans, the time has come to bring closure to this very painful past. The time has come to allow ourselves the full benefit of a cohesive, unified, and confident Kenya as we claim our future. My brothers and sisters, to move forward as one nation, I stand before you today on my own behalf, that of my government, and all past governments, to offer the sincere apology of the government of the Republic of Kenya to all our compatriots for all past wrongs. I seek your forgiveness, and may God give us the grace to draw on the lessons of this history to unite as a people and together embrace our future as one people and one nation. Asante. Asante sana. Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. In moving forward to complete the noble work of building our nation, we are reminded of the fundamental principles upon which our prosperity will be built. Our national anthem calls us to reflect on the power of peace, to recall the supreme value of freedom, to believe once more in the beauty of service and brotherhood, to aspire each day to the dignity that results from hard work, and to contend for the hope that justice will bring. Fellow Kenyans, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, there is no doubt that Kenya is firmly on the path of transformation. However, my administration and this nation are confronted by both the reality and perception of pervasive corruption. As I have stated previously, and as warrants emphasis, corruption is the greatest threat to our security, fundamental rights, and social economic transformation. I share in the frustration of Kenyans at the slow pace and lack of results from the mechanisms created to help us tackle this monster. When I spoke to the nation on the eve of our new year, I assured Kenyans that in 2015, my administration would deal firmly with corruption. I have continuously engaged with all institutions charged with the responsibility to deal with corruption, and firmly expressed my expectation, and indeed the people's desire, that their respective mandates are executed robustly, urgently, and without fear or favor. I pledged my administration's full support, as well as my own personal support, to any actions that will reverse the course of this cancer eating at the soul of our motherland. However, rather than unite against this common enemy of our people, these institutions have elected to be mired in personal and institutional conflicts that have chipped away at their legitimacy and brought disrepute to the state. From the commission charged with the responsibility in the fight against corruption, Parliament's premier oversight committee, the corridors of justice, and the security organs charged with the safety of these nations, Kenyans are witness to the betrayal of their trust. Honorable members, when our treasury was processing our first sovereign bond, the country was forced to settle a foreign court judgment to pay shadowy entities 1.4 billion Kenya shillings. When I addressed the nation on this matter, I pledged that my government would do everything in its power to ensure that we recover all that was due to the Republic. Honorable members, from that moment, I took a personal interest and asked to be briefed on a regular basis of the progress on Anglo leasing related investigations. My administration also supported the investigating authorities in obtaining support from a number of friendly foreign governments. These investigations, honorable members, bore fruit. However, obstacles have appeared threatening the prosecution of the perpetrators. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is now embroiled in infighting and finger-pointing, a state of affairs likely to cripple the investigative capacity of the institution, with a likely outcome of subverting the course of justice. From reports From reports, I don't fire, kazi ni yenu ya kuwatoa. Watoeni mimi. From reports I have received, I strongly believe that this is a further attempt to subvert the successful prosecution of the Anglo-leasing cases. As I have indicated, constitutional office holders, state officers, and every public servant are bound by the values enshrined in our Constitution. They are required to uphold the highest standards of personal integrity in the discharge of their official functions. In view of the oath of office that I took as the President of the Republic, let it be known that today I draw the line. No one will stand between Kenyans and what is right in the fight against corruption and other monstrous economic crimes. I have asked the Attorney General of the Republic to liaise with the Council on Administration of Justice to focus on coordination within the justice, law, and order sector. The Council must ensure the efficient and speedy processing of corruption-related cases, including hearing such cases on a daily basis. I direct the Attorney General to review the legislative and policy framework to ensure the effective discharge of constitutional imperatives related to integrity. 3 weeks ago, I issued Executive Order number 6 on ethics and integrity in the public service. In it, I directed any civil servant to get in touch with my office should they receive any pressure to engage in unethical or illegal conduct, regardless of the status of the person pressurizing them to do so. I want to reiterate this personal commitment, which is also provided for in our Constitution. Honorable members, the latest report I have received from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission contains a catalogue of allegations of high-level corruption touching on all arms and levels of government. It is the view of the Chief Executive of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission that the institution and especially its secretariat are under siege because of the nature of the cases they are currently investigating. I know that Parliament is seized of this matter, and I urge them to deal with this issue expeditiously. Today, however, and for the sake of transparency, I take the extraordinary step of attaching the aforementioned confidential report from the CEO of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission as an annex to my annual report on values to Parliament. As a consequence, I also hereby direct that all officials of the national and county governments that are adversely mentioned in this report, whether you are a cabinet secretary, principal secretary, or chief executive of a state institution, to immediately step aside pending conclusion conclusion of the investigations of the allegations against them. I equally expect that the other arms of government, namely the legislative and the judiciary, will also do the same. Further, the investigating authority must ensure that the Director of Public Prosecutions has received the subject files without delay. I also want to caution that this should not be an open-ended process. Justice must be expeditious, as justice delayed is justice denied. Therefore, the exercise should and must be concluded within the next 60 days. Let me reiterate that it is not my place to determine the guilt or otherwise of any of the people mentioned in the said report. However, the time has come to send a strong signal to the country that we will not accept anything less than the highest standard of integrity from those that hold high office. Fellow Kenyans, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, in view of Parliament's oversight role and its representation of the people, I would be remiss not to express the disquiet caused by recent events that cast aspersions on Parliament. As a previous member, I urge you, honorable members, to take all measures to urgently restore the dignity and integrity of Parliament. This is an essential for an institution whose effective performance is a cornerstone of our democracy. The war on corruption will not be won unless all arms and levels of government play their role and uphold the highest levels of integrity and act decisively against any perpetrator of corruption. Fellow Kenyans, there is no challenge, no obstacle that is too great for us to overcome. An indomitable Kenyan spirit has seen this nation secure its freedom and grow from small beginnings to become a vibrant, democratic, multicultural society that is on an unstoppable path towards even greater progress and prosperity, as well as standing bold and strong in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. My administration will continue to personify the indomitable Kenyan spirit. Our commitment to Kenya remains the same: to bring about fundamental positive change in all areas of our national life in a sustainable and irreversible manner across the length and breadth of the entire country, without regard to gender, age, religion, color, or ethnicity. Our beloved nation is well on the path to greater heights. Through our collective effort, our democracy is growing and maturing, while our fundamental rights and freedoms are entrenched and safe. The social, economic, and political gains that have been made are cemented and are also irreversible. While a lot of hard work still remains to be done, we, fellow Kenyans, have a lot to be proud of and a lot to be grateful for. Honorable speakers, ladies and gentlemen, the state of our nation is strong. Let the love for our country be our guiding light in all that we do. May God bless you all, and God bless Kenya. Thank you, son. Thank you. Asante. It is now my pleasure to submit to Parliament the annual report on the state of national security, the report on measures taken and progress achieved in the realization of national values, and to the National Assembly, the report on the progress made in fulfilling our international obligations. I thank you, honorable members, for your attention. Thank you very much.